What's up, everyone? We're going to be going to the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now, don't forget to like this video, as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day. So make sure to like this video, clicking that button down below. And if we get 550 likes, I will do another video for tomorrow. Now, I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group. And as you guys see, we actually got 19 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. So we're in a huge hot streak. But if you want to get 19 picks right like me, win more bets, and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon, which will be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $4,770 just yesterday. Another member who won $230 for the 5th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description, so go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group, and I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to Junior28901 who said let's eat, and shouts out to Lone Viking who said let's make that cheddar. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below on this one and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick, and when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to talk about is none other than Trey Johnson, and this one is for 19.5 points and rebounds, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Trey Johnson, we have actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, you see on January 7th, faced off against Orlando Magic, had 8 points and rebounds there. January 8th, faced off against Philadelphia 76ers, had 25 points and rebounds in that matchup. Then 13 points and rebounds against New Orleans Pelicans on January 10th. January 12th, faced off against Phoenix Suns, actually had 24 points and rebounds, then 12 points and rebounds against LA Clippers on January 15th. So very interesting to see from none other than Trey Johnson, as we did see him, as I mentioned, going the under in 3 out of the last 5. But what we also do see when it comes to this matchup is that we have seen when it comes to Trey Johnson that his average over the last 5 is 16.4. So it is significantly below on the line here. When we actually look at this matchup and look more in depth, we do also see when it comes to actually Trey Johnson and the Washington Wizards, they have themselves a very good matchup against the Sacramento Kings. So it is definitely going to be an exciting matchup there. Now, looking at where both of these teams do actually lie, starting off with Washington Wizards. Wizards do come in surprisingly at the 14th spot in the Eastern Conference. They actually have a record of 10 wins and 29 losses. That's a 25.6% win percentage there, and on top of that, they are 6-13 from home, 4-16 from away, and are currently on a 4-game losing streak. So very interesting to see from them there. Now, looking at someone like Trey Johnson and also the Washington Wizards, they face off against a Sacramento Kings team that do also rank 14th, however, in the Western Conference. So, you know, they are pretty much the same ranking, and also on top of that, you know, when we look at their record, it is somewhat similar, as they do have a record of 11 wins and 30 losses. So somewhat similar there. They have a 26.8% win percentage, however. And on top of that, they're 8-13 from home, 3-17 from away, and are currently on a 3-game win streak. So very interesting to see there. Now, looking at a team like Sacramento Kings, we do actually see when it comes to points allowed, starting off there, we do see that they rank 26th and actually allow 120.7 points per game. Then rebounds allowed, we also do see that the Kings rank pretty low. They rank 25th, allowing 46 rebounds per game. So looking at that, we have actually seen Trey Johnson, you know, in this situation going the under quite consistently. But why do we like the under for this matchup against Sacramento? And a big reason being is that when we look at Sacramento, we do actually see that they do a fantastic job at restricting points and rebounds to the guard position. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the under for this situation here. We definitely see someone like Trey Johnson going on the under here, not only just due to the fact that Sacramento do a great job against his position, but what we also have seen from Trey is we have actually seen him struggle as well over the last 5. As I mentioned before, he's gone on the under multiple times, and his usage rate just definitely hasn't been there as of lately. Although he is a great scorer, the rebounds has been lacking a little bit, and when it comes to points, it does try to keep him in this kind of line, but he has definitely failed multiple times, and we are expecting that to happen again once in this matchup. Now, looking at the points and rebounds line from what the pros do have to say about it, so obviously we have him for 19.5. Now, they actually have him for 18.5, so it is a little bit of a different line there. Since we have him for 19.5, it is hard to really go off what the bookies are saying there, but what we do actually see is that when we look at the projection, they have him projected for 14.6. So they have him projected for the under, and not just that, they have him projected significantly on the under, and we definitely see that playing a huge factor here. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the under there. When we look at the last 15 games, we also do see he has gone on the under in quite a lot. He's gone on the under in roughly around 74% of these matchups. So he's gone on the under quite consistently. And that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this one. Now, for someone like Trey, who has definitely struggled quite a bit, he's not only just struggling against easy teams, it's also tougher teams. And I do believe it really does and boil down to pretty much his usage rate out there, the game plan that this Wizards team likes to run, and it definitely has taken a huge effect on him for sure. So coming into this matchup, we are definitely liking the under for this one. So Trey Johnson, 19.5 points and rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about Paul George, and this one is for 2.5 3-pointers made, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Paul George, we actually have seen him go on the under in 4 out of the last 5 games. So he's actually struggled just a little bit as of lately. Now, not only that, but we did see January 6th faced off against Denver Nuggets, had 2 3-pointers made there. January 8th faced off against Washington Wizards, had 4 3-pointers made in that matchup. January 10th faced off against Orlando Magic, had 0 3-pointers made there. 1 3-pointer made against Toronto Raptors on January 13th. And then January 15th faced off against Cleveland and had 2 3-pointers made there. So we actually have seen Paul George go on the under in 4 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those last 5, we do also see that his average over the last 5 is 1.8. So pretty interesting there, but looking at this matchup more in depth, we do also know when it comes to Paul George and the Philadelphia 76ers, they have themselves a very good matchup against none other than the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, both are Eastern Conference teams, and when we actually look at both of these teams, it may surprise some of you, but 76ers are actually higher because they rank 5th in the Eastern Conference. Now, a lot of people thought 76ers weren't going to be this good of a team, but they definitely have surprised a lot of people. They get into that 5th spot. They have 22 wins, 17 losses under their belt, and they also have a 56.4% win percentage. Now, they're also 10-10 from home, 12-7 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So, very interesting to see there. Now, looking at this matchup, we do also know that the 76ers face off against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And looking at Cleveland, they do rank actually 7th in the Eastern Conference, and they have a record of 23 wins and 19 losses. So, that's a 54.8% win percentage there. 14-10 from home, 9-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very interesting there to see. Obviously, Cleveland haven't really lived up to the hype that a lot of people thought they would be at, and it has been a little bit disappointing, but they are looking and hoping to bounce back coming into this next one. So for that reason, looking at this matchup more in depth and looking at where Cleveland do actually rank when it comes to 3-pointers, we are looking at first 3-point percentage allowed. We do see that Cleveland Cavaliers do rank, somewhat low, as they rank 30th. Now, when we look at that, they also do allow a 38.3% 3-point percentage. So that's actually what but they do rank last in that sense. Now, when we look at 3-point attempts allowed, we do see that Cleveland do actually rank a 16th and allow 36.8 3-point attempts per game. So they do rank pretty mid-tier there. And then 3-point makes allowed, we see Cleveland Cavaliers do rank 23rd, and they actually allow 14.1 3-pointers to be made. So why do we like the under for this situation? And a big reason being is that when we look on a per position basis, we do see a little bit of a different story, because Cleveland actually do a fantastic job at restricting 3-pointers to, Paul George's position. And where we have seen that being evident is definitely in the most recent game. As we have seen, they faced off against Cleveland recently, and he only had 2 3-pointers made there. And we did see Cleveland actually do a fantastic job at restricting attempts from him, at restricting makes, and all those different things. And it definitely had a huge effect, which is why we did see him go on the under there. Now, Paul George's game has definitely developed recently, as yes, he has been a big 3-point shooter at times, but what we have seen from him lately is definitely take a little bit of a different sort of scoring approach. And it definitely has not only just led to less 3-point attempts, but also less 3-point makes. And I do believe also the way 76ers and the game plan has been for them, it's definitely changed a little bit of, where Paul George is at times and his usage rate out there on the 3-point line. Now, looking at, what the pros do have to say, now they do have him for 2.5 3-pointers made as well, so they have him for the same line. And we are also agreeing with the bookies, because the bookies actually have him favored, heavily on the favored for the under in this one. So coming into this one, we do very, very much like the under for someone like Paul George coming into this game. We definitely see him going on the under here due to the fact that not only has he done a great job time and time again, but what we also have seen from Paul George is that he's remained very, very, offensive heavy, but he hasn't had to rely on 3-pointers as of lately. Now, looking at the projection, we also do see we are agreeing with the projection there, as they have him projected for 2.3. So it really does work out in our favor there. Then looking also at the last 15, it is somewhat 50-50, because he's gone on the over 46% of those games roughly. So he has slightly gone, more on the under than he has gone on the over, which I think is great. But I do believe it really does depend on the matchup, which is what we have seen here. And, the fact that he has struggled against Cleveland in the past, we should see it happen again, coming into this one. So Paul George, 2.5 3-pointers made for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about Zion Williamson. So as you all know, Zion Williamson, great player. And this one is for steals and blocks combined for 1.5, and this one actually is for more. Now, looking at someone like Zion Williamson and looking at those last 5 games, we have seen him actually go on the over in 3 out of the last 5 games. So he has done a fantastic job there. When we look at someone like Zion, we see on January 8th, faced off against Atlanta Hawks, had 1 blocks and steals there. January 10th, faced off against none other than Washington Wizards, had 2 blocks and steals, then 3 blocks and steals against Orlando Magic on January 12th, and January 14th, faced off against Denver and had 1 block and steal there, then 3 blocks and steals against Brooklyn on January 15th. So we have actually seen, Zion Williamson do a great job quite consistently, and has definitely done a great job as well, even against tougher matchups. But we definitely have seen him, do great, and New Orleans Pelicans have themselves a matchup against Indiana Pacers coming into this next game. Now, I do also have to mention that his average over the last 5 is also 2 as well. But looking at both of these teams and where they do lie, starting off with the Pelicans unfortunately have had a pretty tough, start to the season, and I don't know if it is going to get any better, but right now they currently sit at the 15th spot in the Western Conference, and they actually have a record of 10 wins and 33 losses. So that's a 23.3% win percentage there. On top of that, we also see that they're 7-18 from home, 3-15 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see there. And looking at their matchup, which is Indiana Pacers, we do see Pacers come in at the 15th spot in the Eastern Conference, and they have a record of 9 wins and 32 losses. So that's a 22% win percentage there, 7-16 from home, 2-16 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So Zion Williamson is going to have himself a pretty interesting matchup here. But looking at where Indiana Pacers do actually rank when it comes to blocks allowed and also steals allowed. So starting off with blocks allowed, we see that Indiana Pacers rank 10th, actually allowing 4.5 blocks per game. So they do allow a decent amount. And then looking at also steals allowed, we see that the Pacers rank 4th, allowing 7.2 steals per game. So from seeing that, we do know, obviously Pacers do rank pretty decently. But why do we like the over for this situation here? And a big reason being is that when we actually look at Zion Williamson, we do know he does play that forward position. And what we do see here is that Indiana Pacers actually do a really poor job at, restricting blocks, restricting steals to Zion's position. So for that reason, coming into this game, we do very, very much like the over for this one. Now, for someone like Zion Williamson, what we also have seen from him as well over the last couple of games, we have seen him do very, very well. And we are just seeing an increase in his usage rate in these departments. So that's why coming into this next matchup, we are definitely expecting the over once again. So for someone like Zion, we definitely see him going on the over here. Now, when we look at what the pros do actually have to say here, now they don't actually have a line for him when it comes to blocks and steals, like a combo one, so it is a little bit more difficult to actually tell there. However, what we will say about this, just to show you how he's gone when it comes to the last 15, when it comes to steals and blocks, because obviously hard to really go off the bookies, hard to really go off the projections because it is a little bit different. But looking at this, we have seen, Zion actually go on the over, in 33% of those matchups when it came to steals. And then when we also look at blocks, we see that, just waiting for this to load, we've seen over the last 15 games, he's actually hit 46% of those. So, yes, when it comes to blocks and steals, it is a little bit more of an interesting sort of line because, it isn't a stat sort of that is recorded quite a lot. You're not getting 4 or 5 blocks every game or 4 or 5 steals every game. So you really got to time it right, time it with the right sort of matchups. And with the matchup against Pacers, we definitely see that happening. And the fact that Pacers are also a really fast-paced team, as we've always mentioned before, faster paced game leads to more volume, and more volume leads to more opportunities to block, opportunities to steal, and we definitely see that being the case here. So for that reason, we are definitely still sticking to the over for someone like Zion Williamson. As I mentioned before, really difficult to go off what the pros are saying because there isn't a combo line there, but we do see a lot of value here, especially being able to get it for only 1.5. And that's the combo for blocks and steals as well. So for that reason, Zion Williamson, 1.5 blocks and steals for more, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Quentyn Grimes. So Quentyn Grimes, another great player, and this one is for rebounds and assists for 5.5, and this one actually is for more. Now, looking at Quentyn Grimes, we have seen him go on the over in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, we see on January 8th, faced off against Washington Wizards, had 2 rebounds and assists there. January 10th, faced off against Orlando Magic, had 4 rebounds and assists. Then 8 rebounds and assists against Toronto Raptors on January 12th. And then January 13th, faced off against, Toronto Raptors again off a back-to-back, had 6 rebounds and assists. Then 5 rebounds and assists against Cleveland Cavaliers on January 15th. So when we actually look at this, we do also know when it comes to actually, Quentyn Grimes, he has gone on the over 2 out of the last 5, but his average over the last 5 is also 5. So it is slightly below this line, but looking at this, we do also see when it comes to Philadelphia, they have themselves a really good matchup against none other than Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, we have touched on this matchup before, but just to quickly remind you all again, looking at both of these teams and starting off with Philly, Philadelphia 76ers do come in at the actual 5th spot in the Eastern Conference. They've done a great job coming in at 22 wins, 17 losses. That's a 56.4% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are also 10-10 from home, 12-7 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. Now, they face off against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who do actually rank 7th, and they actually have a record of 23 wins and 19 losses. So that's a 54.8% win percentage there. 14-10 from home, 9-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So looking at both of these teams, obviously we see 76ers ranked a little bit higher than Cleveland, but looking at where Cleveland do rank defensively, starting off with rebounds allowed, we see that Cleveland Cavaliers do rank 18th, allowing 44.9 rebounds per game. Then when we look at assists allowed, we do actually see that Cleveland Cavaliers also rank somewhat in a similar position as they rank 20th, allowing 27.3 assists per game. So it's clear to see that when it comes to Cleveland, they do struggle at restricting, rebounds and assists. And to make matters worse, what we also also do see when it comes to, someone like Quentyn Grimes, he is a guard, and we do see that Cleveland do struggle at restricting rebounds and assists to the guard position. So we are expecting Quentyn to be able to take advantage of this and go on the over in this one. We should see him, do really, really well. Now, although they most recently had a matchup and Quentyn actually missed this slightly just by 0.5, we now believe that it's brought this line a little bit lower, especially with some of his other games where he's faced off against tougher teams. We do believe it's brought this line a little bit too low, that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the over. And when we look at that Cleveland game, as I mentioned, there will be times where players don't get the expected outcome. But coming off this back-to-back, we usually tend to see that players with their projected line that they're supposed to hit, or that we are expecting them to hit off a back-to-back, we tend to see them adjust for that second game. So coming into this one, we are expecting adjustments to be made from Quentyn, and we should see him be able to go on the over in this one. What we also did notice when it came to this game is that Cleveland and Philadelphia, although Cleveland are a little bit slower paced, we actually did see Cleveland speed up and go up to Philadelphia's pace. So we aren't expecting a slow paced game here. So as I've always mentioned, when games tend to be a little bit more faster, that high amount of pace leads to more volume and more opportunity, especially for someone like Quentyn Grimes to grab some rebounds and also play make. Now, looking at his pros line and what they do have him at for here. Now, they have him for 5.5 as well. And similar, what we do see when it comes to the line is similar to us, but also is similar is that the bookies also agree with us, because the bookies actually have him favored for the over as well. So it is technically, in our favor there, which is what we like to see. It does give us, a little bit of double confirmation there. And to make it even a bigger confirmation, we see that the projection that they do have for him is 7.6 rebounds and assists. So we do actually see that Quentyn Grimes is, very much projected to go on the over when it comes to projection, bookies, all those different things. So definitely does work out in our favor, and it does kind of match with what we are trying to say here. Now, looking at his last 15, that also does show confirmation to us, because he has gone on the over in 60% of these matchups. So he's definitely done a fantastic job there. So this one is really kind of a no-brainer to us. We don't really see any, objections to this pick. And we just definitely see someone like Quentyn Grimes to be able to take advantage of this and go on the over here. So Quentyn Grimes, 5.5 rebounds and assists, 4 more, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Andrew Nembhard. So Andrew Nembhard, great player. And this one is a points and assist one, a combo one for 26.5. And this one actually is for less. Now looking at Andrew Nembhard, we have seen him go in the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on January 5th, faced off against Orlando Magic, had 31 points and assists in that matchup. Then after that, January 7th, faced off against Cleveland Cavaliers, had 26 points and assists there. Had a 38 points and assists against Miami Heat on January 11th. January 13th, faced off against Boston Celtics and had 22 points and assists there. Then 20 points and assists against Toronto on January 15th. So looking at that, we do actually see when it comes to Andrew Nembhard, we have seen him go on the under quite consistently, because we have actually seen that he's gone on the under, in 3 out of the last 5. And on top of that, his average over the last 5 is 27.4. But we do believe that outlier game against Miami has pushed that line, or his average, just a little bit too up. Now, coming into this one, we do actually see that when it comes to Indiana Pacers and Andrew Nembhard, we do know that they face off against the New Orleans Pelicans. So when we see that, we do also see that Indiana and, New Orleans, we have touched on this matchup before, but just to quickly remind you again, Indiana Pacers come in at the 15th spot in the actual Eastern Conference. They've definitely struggled quite a bit, actually having 9 wins and 32 losses. That's a 22% win percentage there. On top of that, they are 7-16 from home, 2-16 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see there. Now looking at their matchup, which is the Pelicans, they are ranked pretty much the same, because they actually have the 15th spot as well, as we mentioned. 10 wins, 33 losses, a 23.3% win percentage, and are also 7-18 from home, 3-15 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very interesting to see. But looking at someone, like Andrew Nembhard, not only have we seen, Andrew really struggle over the last 5, but we are also looking at, when we look at Pelicans, we see that New Orleans Pelicans do actually rank When it comes to points allowed, they rank 28th, allowing 122.2 points per game. So looking at this, we see that the Pelicans, when it comes to assists allowed, they do actually rank 28th. So they actually allow 28.9 assists per game. So they rank very low. So why do we like the under for someone like Andrew Nembhard? And the big reason being is that when we look on a per position basis, we do see a little bit of a different story. Because what we do see, first of all, is that New Orleans Pelicans do a fantastic job at defending Nembhard's position. But we also have seen from Nembhard is that he has definitely struggled and seen a decrease in his usage rate when it comes to points and assists. And this is definitely due to things such as, maybe a little bit of a cold streak. On top of that, I have seen, Indiana really change things up because obviously they are in that 15th spot. They are trying different game plans, different sort of strategies. And it has taken a little bit of an effect on Andrew Nembhard when it comes to the points and assists category. So that's why coming into this next one, we do very, very much like the under for someone like Andrew coming into this game. When we look at the matchup and looking at what the pros do have to say, so obviously points and assists, they have him for 25.5. So it is a little bit of a different line there because we have him for 26.5. But what we do see and what really does help us out here and really does solidify it for us is that even at 25.5, they have him favored for the under. So I think that's really interesting to see because the fact that, they have him for the under at this level, it definitely does show that having it at 26.5, it definitely does just give us a little bit more leeway, and on top of that, it just does solidify it a little bit more that the under is more likely. Now, looking at the projection as well, we do see that the projection that they do have for it is 23.8 points and assists as well. So that is on the under, including, so all these sort of factors are kind of progressing towards the under, which I think is fantastic there. But we also do see when it comes to Andrew Nembhard, when we look at the last 15, he's gone on the under quite consistently. He's gone on the under on pretty much 70% of those matchups. So that's why coming into this next one, we do very, very much like the under here. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for someone like Andrew Nembhard here. We definitely see him going on the under due to the fact that his usage rate has definitely been very, very low in both of these departments, and he hasn't been able to hit this line consistently. So